Assalamu alaikum again. Thank you for your patience. So we're delighted to have Noha Alshugairi with us. She received her MS in counseling from California State University, Fullerton, and her BA in zoology from Rutgers University. She is currently a licensed marriage and family therapist in private practice in Newport Beach. Noha strongly believes that a nurturing, empowering adult-child relationship is at the core of a strong community. Hence, she has become an advocate of parenting classes and teacher training focused on connection and encouragement. While her philosophy is grounded in Islam, she has found in positive discipline a practical, down-to-earth method to teach this philosophy. Since becoming a certified positive discipline trainer in 2008, she has facilitated several school-wide trainings and conducted many parenting workshops. In addition to her formal training, Noha brings into her sessions a rich life experience. She was born in Cairo, Egypt, but her life journey took her through Nigeria, Lebanon, Saudi Arabia, and finally, the US. Her years in Saudi Arabia, where she attended elementary, middle, and high school, have given her a strong foundation in the Islamic sciences. She combines her rich understanding of Islam and her counseling education to help clients find their own answers. Noha frequently lectures on issues related to women, family, and mental health. Her interests include marriage and divorce in the American Muslim community, parent and child relationships, the intertwining of faith and culture in the American Muslim community, youth identity development, and the impact of changing women roles on the family unit. Noha has been married for 32 years, she has 4 adult children, and recently has been blessed with her first grandchild, alhamdulillah. Please join me in welcoming Noha Alshugairi.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله كما ينبغي لجلال وجهه وعظيم سلطانه والصلاة والسلام على أطيب المرسلين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. I'm very excited to be here today because this is like the first in at least Southern California. I don't know if other Muslim communities are doing this, but when Dr. Siraj contacted me, I was like, whoa, yes, that's exactly what we need. Because we do a lot of educational workshops, but there are some critical pieces that are lacking, and this is one of them. So I'm sincerely appreciative of her work and her effort to galvanize us to do it, and definitely ICOI for hosting, and definitely for you to come out here today and be with us today, and I know it's a long day. So Jazakumullah khair. So let's begin. As you can see, I have some plants on the table. So I want you to look at the plants and tell me, give me ideas about what are you seeing, what are you observing. Yes?
There are 2 that need special care.
Okay, so 2 that need special care. Which ones are they? The orchids, okay. Yeah, the tall plants. Okay, so the 2 orchids need special care. Do you know what's the special care that they need?
They don't need to be in the sun.
They can't be in the sun.
They need just specific water.
Specific amounts of water, not too much water and not too little. Yes,
And the succulents are...
These are the succulents for the people who don't know garden. I don't know gardening, by the way, okay? Don't think I am a gardener. What about the succulents?
Succulents are easy to take care.
Easy to take care of.
Break, you plant them and they regrow.
Okay, did you hear that? You break a piece of the succulent, you just stick it in the ground and it grows. Okay, what else do you see? This one is dying.
Yeah.
Okay, can anyone recognize what was this supposed to be? A weed. What's special about weeds? You're a gardener. Okay, great. I love that. Okay, can you tell us about the weeds? How do weeds grow?
How do weeds grow?
Yeah, how do weeds grow? Naturally. Do we take care of the weeds?
No.
No, you just go through the garden and oh my God, there's a weed here, there's a weed there, right? Okay, what else is? Well, yesterday, because I wanted to do this experiment with you, so I actually dug out the weed yesterday, only yesterday, okay? And it was very difficult to dig it out. Extremely difficult. Like, I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting like, whoo, come on. No, it was very difficult. And look what happened to it from yesterday to today. It died. Because I actually basically changed what it needed to grow. And what it needed to grow was something that had nothing to do with me. You get that? Did I do anything with this weed? I didn't. It grew on its own. So, any idea what am I trying to tell you here? Okay, so tell me, what do you think I'm trying to tell you?
About the children.
About the children. Exactly. It is exactly about the children. What's my message? Raise your voice so I can hear you. They're all different.
Each one is special care.
Each one is going to need a specific kind of care that applies to that particular child. Correct?
Each one has its own components.
And each one has its own components. Absolutely. And I want to add one layer. If you only remember one thing from me today, from today's lecture, it's the following. You see how beautiful this is? I want you to remember, this is a metaphor for individuals who have mental illness. What do you see? Do you see beauty? Is it different? Is it unique? That's what I want you to remember. Because we look at people with mental illness as deficient, and they are not deficient. Just like Dr. Azhar said in the morning, she was saying they have their own gifts. And I want you to remember the beautiful, beautiful flowers of the orchid. Okay? These beautiful flowers, you don't see them in the succulent, that doesn't need a lot of care. And you don't see them in the weed. They're very special. So, if you don't remember anything, it's this one, please. Remember that metaphor. And what do they need from us? What do the orchids need from us? They need special care. And when we give them that special care, what do we get?
They bloom.
They bloom. They bloom and they give you actually into your life. You feel a lot of barakah into your life. I cannot tell you how many times I have talked to parents of autistic children specifically. Okay? Why autistic children? Because autistic children are one of the most difficult groups of people to communicate with. Okay? And I've seen, a wide spectrum of autism, some very severe, some very mild. But I talk to the parents of these severely autistic children, and I ask them, how is it? How can you manage? And every single one of them tells me, no exception, subhanallah, their presence in our life is a barakah, is a gift. And I don't know what my life would be without them being in my life. So my message, and I hope that, and that's the message I'm sure you're hearing from everyone today, love and compassion. Love, compassion, and respect, and looking for the gifts, not looking for the deficiencies. Okay? Okay. Moving on. But that was my main message. Alas, we can stop here. Okay, so let's move on and talk about, do you know people who actually have mental illness and, mashallah, they are doing very well? Yes? Can you give us we don't want people to get personal here, but do you know anyone who is, for example, famous? Don't give me actors and actresses, please. Okay? Yesterday I was Googling and there was this list of 300 people who have mental illness, and I think 90% of them were actors and actresses. Nothing against actors and actresses at all, but I really want to highlight the other segment of the community. So you know anyone who's famous and has a mental illness? Anyone that we have come across to know? Yes.
Senator Patrick Kennedy.
Senator Patrick Kennedy? Do you know what he had?
He has bipolar disorder.
He had bipolar disorder. Okay, who else? Yes.
JetBlue CEO, I don't know his name, but he's allegedly having.
Who is he? Sorry again?
CEO of JetBlue Airlines.
Oh, the CEO of JetBlue Airlines also has a mental illness?
ADHD. But
ADHD. Okay, yeah. Yes?
In the Islamic history,
Uh-huh.
Ibn
Ibn Maktoum had a mental illness? Yeah.
physical.
Yeah, that's kind of different, and we're going to come to the maybe definition of mental illness in a minute. Yes?
Dr. Kate, she was at the UCLA.
Okay.
She wrote a things like forgetting an unquiet mind is her book,
Okay,
and she wrote a lot of books.
a lot.
She herself
Yes.
has mental illness,
Okay.
and I think an unquiet mind is her memoir.
Okay, so unquiet mind. Okay, remember, I'm not sure what's
That
the
book has enlightened me a lot.
okay. So that book helped you a lot.
Oh,
Okay, yes.
Sheikh Suhaib Webb has talked about being depressed quite a few times.
Oh, he himself, Sheikh Suhaib talked about himself being depressed. Okay, yes,
Was it Einstein was dyslexic?
yes, I read that in the list yesterday. Yeah, I'm not gonna consider it as part of the mental illness, spectrum. Okay, so let's define what mental illness is. At least for the therapists, psychiatrists, and psychologists, mental illness is basically a situation where the person's thoughts, feelings, or behaviors are somewhat out of the unusual or normal. So it impacts 3 areas in the human domains, okay? Thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. That's very important, okay? If it doesn't impact any one of these, then it's not a mental illness. This is the latest book, in the US, this is the Bible for the mental illness collection of disorders. It's called the DSM. It's called the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. It has about 250 disorders, okay? So, moving on. Last time I had a panel discussion with Sheikh Jamal at UCLA about mental illness in the Muslim community. And one of the interesting questions that came my way, or our way, was, did the Sahaba, did the companions actually experience mental illness? And this was related to someone asking earlier, if you're a practicing Muslim, okay, can you actually experience, mental illness? Because this is one of the myths, right? If you have a strong iman, just like Sheikh Yasser yesterday was saying, and Dina was saying today, this myth somehow takes a strong hold in our community. If you're a practicing Muslim, subhanallah, you should not have mental illness. Anyway, so recently I came across the story that I want to share with you, and it's actually in Sahih al-Bukhari. So it's narrated that Tufail ibn Amr al-Dawsi, one of the companions, came to the Prophet ﷺ, after the Prophet migrated to Medina with one of his friends. This friend, they tell us in the story, he became sick. After he became sick, the Arabic word that they use is jaza'a, which basically means he experienced a lot of fear. Okay, so he got sick. This is in the narration. He got sick, فَجَزَعَ, and then after he experienced that extreme fear, what he did is he cut his wrists and then he bled to death. This is a Sahih al-Bukhari, people. Okay, what happened after that is that the file tells us that he saw his friend in his dream. And how did he see his friend? He saw his friend in Jannah, okay, happy, with his wrist covered in, if you will, rags. So he tells him, oh, what happened to you, my friend? And he says, oh, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has forgiven me because I migrated to Medina to see the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay? And then the Tufail goes back to Rasul alayhi salam, and he tells him the story. What do you take from this story? There's so many lessons in this story, which we actually don't talk about. But what do you take? What do you take from it? Yes?
He seemed that he committed suicide.
He did.
But between him and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he knew in his heart it was an illness.
Okay, so he committed suicide.
Yeah.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knew it was because of jaza', this jaza' description, right? And what did Allah do to him?
Mercy.
He gave, he forgave him. And this is actually connected to another hadith, which is one of the major hadith in our tradition that talks about accountability. What does it say? رفع القلم عن ثلاث. Okay? الصبي حتى يحتلم والمجنون حتى يفيق والنائم حتى يستيقظ, which basically means 3 categories of people are not accountable. Okay? The young until they reach puberty. Okay? And the person who doesn't have full control over his mental capacities until he gains that control back. Okay? And the third one is someone who's sleeping until he wakes up. Look at that. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? So what does that tell us? In our own tradition, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already established the mercy for the people who are struggling with mental illness. And we need to actually extend that mercy and love and compassion. Yes, did you have a question? It's very good.
This is not a reason for anybody who's in the illness to commit suicide and say that was mercy.
Okay, so you're concerned.
Was he crazy?
Okay, so you're concerned that this will be an invitation for people to go ahead and commit suicide. Thank you for mentioning that. Just to be a disclaimer, yes, this is not an excuse for people to go and commit suicide. The story talks about someone, and we are interpreting jaza in the story to indicate that this person had reached a state where he wasn't in control of his faculties at that point. And that's why he went and he did that. And I'm going to add another layer to that. It is not up to us. It is not up to us. Please, people. My friend, my closest friend, her son died of suicide a couple of months ago. And I'm sure a lot of people talked about that in the community and wondered about what's happened. And I was hoping that we all remember that we are not morality judges. We are not the people who define if someone was crazy at that moment and he did it, and he was going to hell, or if he's going to heaven. It's not up to us. Our responsibility is the love and compassion and respect, and we leave the judgment to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? Okay. I know. Okay, I'm supposed to talk about parenting. So, I'm going to talk about parenting, inshallah. However, anyway, so I explained to you or defined for you what is mental illness. And people have been trying to actually find out what is the etiology, what is the cause of mental illness. Like, for example, in physical illness, if you have smallpox, for example, or polio, doctors have already established what's the cause. We know what smallpox and the course of the disease and so on. And we also have what? We have also vaccinations to prevent certain illnesses from happening. Okay? We don't have vaccinations for everything, but anyway. So people assume that we can use the same kind of methodology to find out, okay, about mental illness, what's the causation of mental illness. So there's a lot of research going on. And there are so many theories about the causation of mental illness. We do not until today have a full picture of what is the causation of mental illness. We have a theory right now. The most popular theory about mental illness right now is what they call the vulnerability stress theory. And I'm actually going to explain it to you because I think it's important for you to understand it. So basically, what this theory says is the following. We have, sorry, my spelling is not that amazing. Okay, so we have, they say, when each one of us is born, we are born with specific genetic vulnerabilities. Do you all know what I mean by vulnerability? It's hash. So basically, it's something that you are not very strong in, something you are susceptible to. Okay? So each one of you here has actually some kind of genetic vulnerability. Okay? It's not necessarily mental illness, but it could be something else. I know, for example, myself, okay, I am Why? Because that's a genetic vulnerability that I have. Okay? And each one of you have that. So we have genetic vulnerability. We have what we call psychological vulnerability. So remember when Sheikh Suhail was talking about Musa alayhi salam, how did he describe Musa? He's what?
Easily around.
He's easily to get angry, right? Okay, and how did we describe Umar ibn Khattab? Easily to get angry as well, right? So those are what we call psychological traits, like something that you are born with. Like Musa is the brother of Harun, right? Musa is susceptible to getting angry very quickly. Harun is not. Okay. Musa used to stutter, by the way. You see, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose Musa to be the prophet, even though he used to be stuttering. You would think, why did you, Allah, choose someone who stutters to be a prophet? Why can't you choose, for example, Harun? Even Musa said that to Allah. Said, why can't Harun be the prophet? Because he doesn't stutter like I do. Allah is wise. And Allah knows who's best for his, message. Anyway, so vulnerability could be genetic, and then we have psychological traits. Okay, and then we have whatever kind of learned perceptions about the world, which we usually get from after we live in this, in this life, and I'm forgetting one. And then the other piece of vulnerability is if we have only low social support. So all of these things are part of the vulnerability piece of the theory. Now let's come to stress. Stress is basically an event that is happening in your life and you don't have control over it, and then you kind of have to exert effort to handle it. So it could be economic, right? It could be emotional. When, for example, you are in a relationship with someone and they break up with you, that's stressful. Okay, that's painful. It could be some kind of, like, for example, you remember in Russia, I don't know how many years ago, we had the Chernobyl accident. That's a biological hazard that happened that was stressful to the people who are living there. So that it could also be biological. Okay. Another one here, I will give you a very quick example about this one. There are recent studies right now that are connecting the use of marijuana with the onset of schizophrenia. So that is considered a biological stress with someone who had already the genetic predisposition for schizophrenia. Okay? Let's see, economic, and then also if there is problems at work, and definitely in relationships. So it's not only romantic, but it could be in the primary family support. So what's the idea now? The popular idea right now is there has to be a combination of factors that come together from here and from here, and they lead to a mental condition. Okay? Now, to make this even more clear, I'm going to share with you one study. Only one study. There are so many studies, but of course we don't have time to actually share that.
What do you mean by learned perception?
Oh, okay. So maybe I'll explain it I'll explain it, inshallah. If I don't, then please remind me to. Okay. So, this is a study that was done in Finland. What did they do? They're looking for, again, the etiology of mental illness. So, this great researcher decided that they're going to look at women from 1960, and this was a longitudinal study, which makes it actually a very strong study. So, from 1960 to 1979, they looked at the women who were diagnosed with either a clear-cut schizophrenia or one of the conditions associated with schizophrenia. Schizophrenia has like about 10 conditions associated with it. Okay, okay, first define what is schizophrenia. Anyone wants to define what's the hallmark of schizophrenia? Yes?
Delusions and hallucinations.
Hallucinations. And what are hallucinations?
It's where you perceive things that aren't there, like visual hallucinations, see things that aren't there, audio, hear things that aren't there.
Yes. So hallucinations, which basically, you know how we have 5 senses? So the person who has a hallucination is basically telling you he is experiencing something related to the 5 senses that is weird, unusual. So one example, you're sitting next to someone and they are telling you that they are seeing, for example, this weird insect walking, over there, and they're telling you, look, can you see it? And you don't see anything. That's a visual hallucination. The most common hallucination is auditory, which basically they tell you someone is talking to me, okay, and they're telling me whatever. Another example would be, okay, I know, for example, that's the paranoia. So, like, I know when this person did this, that he was talking about me or talking to me or something. So, schizophrenia. Individuals who experience hallucinations or delusions. Delusions are basically also some really weird ideas that you know for certain that they are not real. So let me give you an example from one of my clients. And it's extremely important. When you are sitting and dealing with someone like that, not to laugh. Extremely important. Because that person really believes in what he or she is saying. So this young gentleman, he was sitting there and he was telling me, so yesterday I was sitting in the park and then the FBI came and they actually had this metal wire and they inserted the metal wire in my head. Okay, and I know you can't see it, but it's there in my brain. And this is how they are keeping track of me. And this is how they are spying on me. That's a delusion. Okay? So you're sitting there and you know it's not true. Please don't laugh. Please. Okay? The study I'm sharing with you is focusing only on schizophrenia, but I'm using it as an example, just a very quick example to explain to you this vulnerability stress theory. So anyway, they decided to look at all women from 1960 to 1979 who had a diagnosis of schizophrenia or a schizophrenia-associated condition. So they found 19,447 women. Okay, this is in Finland. Now, after that, they looked at all these women and looked at how many of them or who of them actually put their children up for adoption. And in mental health we love to do adoption studies. Why do we love to do adoption studies? Because adoption basically separates the child from the biological parents. So then we can look at the impact of the parenting on the child away from the biological parent. So now we can separate the biological vulnerability. Okay, we can separate this vulnerability from the social support, which we're studying the parenting. Are you with me? Okay. So they look for these children and they find 166 children. I don't know if that was the total number or they only wanted to deal with 166. So these 166 children have biological mothers who had schizophrenia or a schizophrenia-associated, condition. Okay, and they were adopted. Are you with me so far? I didn't lose anyone? Okay, now we need a control, right, to compare. Because, any study has to have control. So they found 167 children, okay, whose biological mother did not have a mental diagnosis, any diagnosis. So, okay? And these children were also adopted. Are you with me so far? Yes. Okay. Now they took these two groups of children and then they went and they studied the families, the adopted families. So they went and they looked at, okay, how was the parenting in these 333 families? Are you with me? Okay, so this is what they found. Okay, these children, the ones that are born for the women who are diagnosed with schizophrenia, we're going to call them HR, meaning what? They have a high risk for schizophrenia, okay? Because we have already, before this study, we have already established that schizophrenia has a genetic component to it, but it does not follow the normal genetic rules that we know in other situations, okay? So we don't know. Until today, we do not know the genetic transmission of schizophrenia, how it happens. Anyway, just because someone has a biological parent puts them at a high risk to develop, yes? Where in the middle?
I think it doesn't show on the screen. You'll see it on the TV.
Oh, that TV is on.
I'll just let you figure it out. But okay. Okay, I'm just going to move this because I actually need to. No problem. Yeah, I just need to have access to the table. Okay. No problem. Yeah. So we're fine? Okay. So again, the 166 children born to women who were diagnosed with schizophrenia, we're going to call them high risk because their biological parent had a diagnosed condition. You're with me with that? Okay. The control group who didn't have a biological parent with a diagnosis, we're going to call them low risk. With me? Yeah. Okay. Now, the researchers analyzed the parenting, okay, of these 333 families, whether the parenting style was positive, okay, which was encouraging. And we're going to call those positive families. Cool. And then we had families who used some kind of negative parenting style. Okay, so we're going to negative parenting or negative families. Are you with me, or did I lose anyone so far with me? Okay. And so we are going to look at the numbers of the sample divided into 4 groups. So the best scenario is children who have low risk for schizophrenia and they have positive families. You with me? Okay, so the percentage of cases, because they followed these children for like years. So the percentage of cases of schizophrenia, associated schizophrenia that happened here were 2.9%. What does that tell you? 2.9% here. Impact of?
Positive family reinforcement.
Okay, so we're assuming that this is good, right? And they don't have a high risk for schizophrenia. But so there is no high risk, there's no biological risk, and the family environment was positive. We still had 2.9 cases, which tells you what?
Genetic.
Which tells exactly. So it tells us that disease will happen even in the best of situations. Okay? This is what I want you to get from this one. Okay? Okay, now. So low risk and negative family. Let's begin with this one. So low risk. They don't have a biological component, but the family atmosphere is not that great. I think it was, let's see, let's just, okay, 6.2. So we went from 2.9 to 6.2 just because we changed what? The family environment. Okay, so we can see this one as basically a reflection of the family environment. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Okay, let's come here. High risk. So they have a biological parent who has the condition. Positive family environment. 6.1%. Which tells us that the positive family environment is protective. It moderates, it mitigates, it reduces the impact of biological factors. Wait until you see this one here. This one is basically high risk and negative family environment, and the rate was
about 15%. 33%.
33%. It's not even double. It's not 12%. It's actually more. Basically, what we're talking about here, in the etiology, in the causation of mental illness, we don't know. Okay? We really don't know the exact details. We can tell you there are protective factors. We guarantee you that there are things, if you do, that will protect people, whether from the mental illness from happening in the first place, or after the mental illness happens, protects them in the progression, protects them when it actually happens again and again. So, one of the major protective factors in mental illness is the parents. And I want you to think of it as a protective factor. When is it a protective factor? When we're actually engaging in positive parenting. And this is where I'm so passionate about parenting. This is why I always talk about parenting, because I know that the parent's impact on the family is beyond profound. It eliminates a lot of problems. Are you sold on this idea now? Do you have any questions about this? Yes.
One question is, how are you defining positive parenting?
Excellent.
Precisely.
Excellent.
Examples, and then the other thing is, why do they study women who have schizophrenia as opposed to men who have schizophrenia?
Very good question. I don't know exactly if it had to do with the transmission, or if it had to do because it was easier to do the to find the woman rather than find the husband. I'm not sure. Because remember, we're looking at also adoption. Okay, so usually in adoption cases, you 100% can know who the mother was, but you may not know who the father was.
Right.
So I'm not sure which one was it. Okay, I don't know. But it's like easier for them to find that link. Okay, now positive parenting. Very quickly, because this is not the time for it. Very quickly, there are 3 styles of parenting. Actually, there are 4, but one of them I don't consider it a style. So the one that I don't consider a style is basically neglect, which basically means what? That parents are not there. So they're either not there, they're not doing their job. It's just, a very, very, bad situation. So that's one. Then we're left with 3. So we have one that is called permissive parenting. And I see that a lot of our Muslim community. You know why? Because we love our children so much. Muslim parents love their children. They adore them. They want to do everything for them. And in this era, in this age, when everything is focused on happiness, wherever you go, everywhere you go, it's happy, 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 happy. For those of you who live in Irvine, have you seen the signs for the new homes? Have you noticed that it's always associated with happy? Like I know one of the neighborhoods said, "Come find your happiness." Another one saying happy homes. They're basically sending you this unconscious message that happiness is attached to something material. We're bombarded by this message. I'm warning you, please be aware of that, okay? But what's the end result of the focus on happiness is that there are parents in their love for their children. They are trying to prevent them from feeling pain. Pain. They don't want them to feel pain. They don't want them to feel upset. They don't want them, so what do these parents do? Okay, you see some child who's, for example, whining and oh no, I want this, I want this, I want this. And okay, Habibi khalas, okay, go ahead. What are we teaching?
That when they do that, that's what they get.
Exactly. And what are we teaching when we're doing that also is I don't have to control my emotions because people are going to take care of me. And the person who does not take care of his or her emotion is going to grow up to become a very fragile adult. You just like that and they crumble. Dr. Hathout, the late Dr. Hathout, may Allah bless him. I mean, he was the first one that actually made me aware of this idea. He talked about our young Muslim, young adults, Muslims in the MSUs and the MSA, and he said, I have noticed in the last few years, they're very fragile. They want everything to happen perfectly, and they don't want anyone to tell them that something is wrong or that they made a mistake. They don't want to hear about mistakes. Okay? So this one group, permissive parents, they shield their children from life. And when they shield their children from life, these children do not develop emotional resiliency. They lack emotional resiliency. They cannot face life. And I see it when they become adults. They struggle in their jobs, they struggle in their relationships. You hear it when then, they come to you, oh no, I'm not happy in this marriage, she's not making me happy, or he's not making me happy, I have to divorce. So, permissive parenting. Okay? And remember, again, where is it coming from? It's coming from where? From love. Because we love them. So we're going to shield them. That's the worst thing you can do for your children. I tell everyone who attends my class, your children have to experience pain. I'm not saying you abandon them. No. They have to experience the disappointment of, failing in a test. You need to be supportive next to them and tell them, okay, so what are you going to do, how are you going to fix this in the future? So no abandonment. But also, no, it's okay, the teacher is stupid. There are parents who do that. Yeah. Wallahi, there are parents who tell this to you, oh, no, she's a stupid teacher, don't worry, I don't know why she does this to you. Or she's picking on you. Okay, so, children have to experience pain. They need to experience it when they are living with you. Why? Because you're going to help them in learning what are the existential message about life. They need to pick it from you, no one else. So, that's a permissive parent. Another group of parents are the authoritarian parents. Very rigid, one way, my way or the highway, okay? You have no voice, no input, your ideas are stupid, it's only about what I think is right, okay? And what happens in the authoritarian homes is that children can respond in different ways. So they can respond by rebelling, outright rebelling. So then they're gonna just basically, don't care about what the parents are saying and they're just gonna go and do what they want to do. Or they're gonna internalize it as shame. That's the worst thing that can happen to a child. When the child leaves the house, the family, believing that he or she is worthless, and he or she, something is defective with them, because that's what they heard from their parents all the time. It's like, how dare you, and how stupid is this, well, you're so stupid, and okay. So, permissive, authoritarian, in the middle, and does the word middle remind you of something? What does middle remind you of?
Moderate?
Middle. Huh? What does the middle remind you of?
Islam.
Islam. Islam. كنتم نحن أمة وسطى. Which means what? What does middle mean for Muslims? It means that we do both dunya and akhirah at the same time. We balance it. We do not let go of the akhirah at all the time, and we do not let go of the dunya all the time, right? So basically, you establish rules, you establish limits, and even when and only important rules, so not silly rules. Okay? So I'll tell you what's an important rule, for example. An important rule would be to actually have a limit on the use of technology. This is an important rule. Why is it an important rule? Because I have seen in my office that when the use of technology is just open-ended and the children have access to it anytime, any day, it impacts their school performance. Okay, because they stay up at night, just on the internet and so on. And also, in the situations of boys, unfortunately, it's a contributing factor to addiction to pornography. Because it's easy access and there's no supervision. So that's an important rule. So there has to be limits, there has to be control. Rules and limits. There has to be definitely love, communication, compassion, understanding, give and take. So let me hear what you have to say. Let's actually sit down and brainstorm this. So maybe if I'm convinced with what you're saying, maybe we'll do it your way. But the positive parent has no problem saying, I heard you, and I understand that this is important to you, but we're gonna do this. Yeah, because a lot of people think that positive discipline is basically be permissive. That you don't say no to your children. No, positive parents do say no. But they have to say it in the important things, not the silly things. Okay? So a quick example would be, for example, when one of my children in high school, he obsessed over wearing shorts. That's all he wanted to wear. Okay? So I had to pause and then think to myself, okay, is this a battle I'm going to fight over or not? Okay, and what was my issue? I had to ask myself the question, what's my issue with the shorts? Really, honestly, I do not care what people say about him. So this was not an issue for me, that he's going out in shorts, whether to the mosque or to parties and so on. That was not an issue for me. I really did not care what people said. However, I cared about one thing. I cared about salah. I cared about his aura, okay, which in boys, aura is from, the navel to the knee, right? So that was the discussion him and I had. I said, okay, I personally don't like that you wear shorts all the time, but I'm going to respect that. My only condition is the short has to cover your knee. And you have to be careful when you are praying, your whole aura is being covered, okay? So positive parents say no, but on important things. And this is one of the problems we have in our community. We think that the important things have to do with what people think about us. And I'm inviting you to let go of that. Okay? I am inviting you to focus more on your relationship with your children under the lens of Allah's compassion and mercy. Which means what? You are going to say no to the things that matter in Islam. Not to the things that have to do with social opinions. Because we are slaves to the social opinions in our community, and that's where the stigma about mental health comes from. Because we're all afraid, what are they going to think about me? Okay? And how are they going to look at me? And we need to be courageous to stand up and know if we're not doing anything wrong Islamically, that it's okay what people say. Who cares? What matters is, on the day of judgment, is Allah going to be satisfied with me? Is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala going to be pleased with me? And the other pieces, if you want to have an influence over your children, you have to have a connection. There is no connection, your children will be so happy to leave the house very quickly and, not worry about the next week. So, I know my time is up. We are going to pass these around. This is basically an invitation. This is an invitation for parents to focus on these areas, the ones you see in the postcard, in your interactions with your children. If you don't have children, by the way, the ideas in the postcard are also relevant to you as an adult. For those of you who are struggling either with anxiety or depression or what have you, The ideas on the postcard are very critical for helping you with mental health issues. So don't look at it as only, okay, to deal with my children. No, use it yourself, okay? I'll tell you, it's gonna help you a lot. And what's gonna happen is the questions are gonna happen later on, right? Or what do you want?
We can do with one or two now and the rest later.
Okay, is Dr. Sayyid, who's speaking now?
Dr. Sayyid.
Is she? Oh, is she?
Yeah, she's here. She's here.
Oh, she, I recognize her. Okay. خلاص, no, we need to start with Dr. Sayyid.
Okay.
So, anyone wants to ask me questions? We are going to have a session at.
Yes, so, Jazakallah, first of all, that was such an engaging talk. Really benefited so much.